Emma stared at her phone screen, her blood turning to ice in her veins. No, 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 no. This couldn't be happening. The message sat there in the chat thread, mocking her with its little blue checkmark. Delivered. Read. The three dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Someone was typing. Someone being Adrian Cole, her boss. The CEO of Cole Industries. The man whose reputation for being cold and ruthless preceded him into every room he entered. The text she'd sent, the one meant for her best friend Sarah, glowed on the screen like a neon sign advertising her complete and utter humiliation. Finally met someone who makes my heart race, and I can't even talk to him without stuttering. Send help. And maybe a paper bag to breathe into. Followed by the laughing emoji, the flushed face emoji, and worst of all, the hard eyes emoji. 3 of them. She'd sent 3 hard eyes emojis to Adrian Cole. Emma's hands were shaking so badly she nearly dropped the phone. This was it. 3 weeks into the best-paying job she'd ever had, and she was going to get fired for sexual harassment, or inappropriate workplace conduct, or just general stupidity. She'd be lucky if he didn't have security escort her out of the building tomorrow morning. How had this even happened? She replayed the last 10 minutes in her head. She'd been texting Sarah, venting about her day, about how intimidating Mr. Betting Cole was, how he'd actually spoken directly to her today for the first time beyond basic instructions, asking her opinion on a contract negotiation. Her heart had genuinely raced, not because she was attracted to him, well, not only because of that, but because Adrian Cole didn't ask assistants for their opinions. He barely acknowledged their existence. And there Emma had been, stammering through an answer about liability clauses while he watched her with those intense dark eyes that seemed to see straight through people. Sarah had been teasing her about it all evening via text. Emma had typed out that stupid message as a joke, an exaggeration. Then Mia had run into the kitchen asking for help with her homework, and Emma had set the phone down for just a second. When she'd come back, Mia had been holding it, her little face apologetic. Sorry, Mommy, I was trying to see the kitty video you showed me earlier and I pressed some buttons. Emma had laughed it off, checked the phone, and realized with dawning horror that somehow, in her 6-year-old's fumbling, the message meant for Sarah saved in her contacts as Sarah Best Friend, with about 15 emojis, after her name had instead gone to Adrian Cole. With his simple professional contact entry, they were nowhere near each other alphabetically. Emma still didn't understand how it had happened, but it had. She typed out an apology, deleted it, tried again. Mr. Cole, I'm so sorry. That message was meant for someone else. Please disregard. Too formal. She deleted it and tried to think of something that sounded less like a corporate email and more like a genuine human apology. I'm so sorry. That was absolutely meant for my friend, not you. Mortifying mistake. Better. Still terrible, but better. Before she could hit send, the doorbell rang. Emma looked at the clock on the microwave. 9:07 p.m. Who would be at her door at 9:07 on a Wednesday night? Her apartment complex wasn't in the best neighborhood, and unexpected visitors after dark usually meant problems. She crept to the door, still holding her phone, and peered through the peephole. Her heart stopped completely. Adrian Cole stood on her doorstep. There was no mistaking him. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than 3 months of her rent. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it. He was looking down at his phone, his expression unreadable in the dim light from the hallway. Then he looked up, directly at the peephole, like he knew she was watching. Emma jumped back from the door like it had burned her. This wasn't happening. Her boss, her terrifying billionaire CEO boss, was not standing outside her apartment. 5 minutes after she'd accidentally sent him the most embarrassing text message of her entire life. This was a nightmare. She was going to wake up any second. The doorbell rang again. Mommy? Mia appeared in the hallway, wearing her rainbow pajamas, her dark curls pulled into a lopsided ponytail that Emma had managed before dinner. Who's at the door? Nobody, sweetheart. Just a mistake. Go back to your room, okay? But someone rang the doorbell. Mia had inherited her mother's stubborn streak. She crossed her arms, looking miniature and fierce. We should see who it is. It might be important. Before Emma could stop her, Mia had darted forward and pulled the door open. Emma lunged for it, but it was too late. Adrian Cole stood there, now looking slightly surprised, his dark eyes moving from Emma to the small girl who'd answered the door. Hello, he said, and his voice was exactly as Emma remembered from the office, deep, controlled, with that slight rasp that made everything he said sound important. Hi, Mia said, tilting her head to look up at him. Who are you? Mia, Emma managed, her voice coming out higher than normal. Inside, now. I'm Adrian, he said, still looking at Mia. Something in his expression shifted, became almost soft. I work with your mother. Oh. Mia processed this. Are you her boss? She talks about you sometimes. Emma wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. Mia, room now. Please. Mia sighed dramatically, but retreated down the hallway, glancing back once with obvious curiosity before disappearing into her bedroom. Emma turned back to Adrian, trying to arrange her face into something professional and apologetic, and not utterly mortified. Mr. Cole, I'm so sorry. I was just about to send you an apology. That text, it was a complete mistake. My daughter grabbed my phone and somehow I don't even know how it went to the wrong person. It was meant for my friend. I would never, I know it was completely inappropriate and, can I come in? He interrupted quietly. Emma's mouth stopped working mid-sentence. I what? I need to talk to you about the message. He glanced down the hallway of the apartment building, preferably not in public. Every instinct Emma had screamed that this was a bad idea. You didn't let your boss into your home at 9 p.m. You especially didn't let your notoriously cold, borderline frightening boss into your tiny, shabby apartment, where the rent was 2 weeks overdue and the furniture came from thrift stores. But there was something in his expression, not anger, not disgust, just an intensity that made her step aside before she could think better of it. Adrian walked in, and immediately the apartment seemed to shrink. He looked around, taking in the worn couch with the blanket thrown over the torn cushion, the small TV on its second-hand stand, the kitchen visible from the living room with its outdated appliances and peeling linoleum. Emma saw it all through his eyes and felt shame burn hot in her chest. This was her life. This was what single motherhood and a deadbeat ex-husband and crushing debt looked like. Please sit, she said, because what else do you say when your billionaire boss is standing in your living room? Adrian sat on the couch, looking completely out of place, like a panther that had wandered into a pet store. He set his phone on the coffee table, Emma's actual coffee table, the one with the water stain she'd never been able to remove, and looked up at her. I'm not here to fire you, he said. Emma, who had been standing frozen by the door, felt her knees go weak with relief. Oh, thank God. I'm here to offer you a job. She blinked. I already have a job. With you. A different job. Adrian leaned back slightly, and Emma noticed he looked tired. She'd never seen him look anything but perfectly composed at the office. One that pays considerably more and requires considerably less actual work. I don't understand. Adrian was quiet for a moment, his jaw working like he was choosing his words carefully. Emma had seen that expression at the office when he was negotiating deals worth millions. She'd never expected to see it directed at her in her own living room. My grandmother is dying, he said finally. Cancer. She has 6 months, maybe less. Emma's hand flew to her mouth. Mr. Baz Bar. Cole. I'm so sorry. She has one wish before she dies. He continued like Emma hadn't spoken. She wants to see me settled, happy, in a relationship. Preferably married, but she'll settle for seriously committed. His lips twisted in something that wasn't quite a smile. She's been asking for years. I've deflected, made excuses. But now time has run out, and she's threatening to write me out of her will if I don't bring someone to the family estate for Christmas. Emma stared at him. This was the most personal thing she'd ever heard Adrian Cole say. At the office, he was a machine. Efficient, brilliant, absolutely devoid of anything resembling personal information. She'd worked for him for 3 weeks and didn't even know if he drank coffee or tea. I still don't understand what this has to do with me, she said carefully. Adrian picked up his phone, pulled up her message, and turned it toward her. Emma cringed seeing it again. This gave me an opening, a reason to contact you outside of work. But more importantly, he set the phone back down. I've been watching you at the office. The way he said it should have been creepy. Somehow, it wasn't. You're genuine, he continued. Kind. Good with people. The other assistants complain about the coffee, or the hours, or the workload. You thank the janitor by name. You helped Sarah from accounting carry boxes when she was struggling. You make small talk with the security guards. You're real, Ms. Mitchell. And my world is full of people who are very, very fake. Emma didn't know what to say to that. She'd just been trying to survive, to keep her head down and not screw up this job that paid twice what her last one had. I need someone my grandmother will believe I actually fell for, Adrian said. Someone who doesn't fit my usual type. Someone who'll make the story believable. The pieces clicked together in Emma's head, and suddenly she understood why Adrian Cole was sitting on her couch at 9 p.m. You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend? For 6 months, he confirmed, starting immediately. I'll pay you $100,000. The number hit Emma like a physical blow. $100,000. That was more than she made in 2 years. That was every debt paid off. That was Mia's college fund started. That was security, stability, everything she'd been scrambling for since Jason left. Why me? She whispered. You could hire an actress, a model, someone who actually knows how to play this kind of role. If this story is pulling at your heartstrings, hit that like button and subscribe because what happens next will change everything. Emma thought she knew about the cold CEO sitting in her living room. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, because actresses and models would see this as an opportunity, a way to get close to me, to leverage it into something real. You? He gestured around the apartment. You need the money. This is a transaction. Clean. Simple. And when it's over, we both walk away. That's incredibly cynical, Emma said. That's realistic. Adrian stood, and Emma was reminded of how tall he was, how much presence he took up in her room. I don't do relationships, Ms. Mitchell. I don't believe in them. My parents had a disaster of a marriage. My father was cruel. My mother left when I was 12, and I haven't seen her since. I built walls because walls are safe. But my grandmother, his voice caught, just barely. She's the only person who ever loved me unconditionally, and I can't let her die thinking I'm going to be alone forever. There it was, the crack in the armor. Emma saw it clearly now. The pain Adrian Cole kept locked behind his cold exterior. He wasn't heartless, he was terrified. What would this entail? She asked. Exactly. Family dinners, staying at the estate for a week over Christmas, holding hands, acting affectionate in front of my grandmother and the rest of my family. Nothing inappropriate, nothing that crosses professional boundaries, just convincing performances when we're in public. And after 6 months, we quietly break up. You tell people it didn't work out. I tell my family the same. My grandmother gets peace. You get financial security. Everyone wins. Emma looked toward the hallway where Mia had disappeared, her daughter's room, with its secondhand furniture and the crack in the ceiling Emma couldn't afford to fix. She thought about the eviction notice she'd hidden in her desk drawer, the one that said she had 30 days to come up with 2 months back rent or they were out. She thought about the credit card bills, the student loans, the car that was one bad day away from dying completely. $100,000 would solve everything. But this pretending to be someone's girlfriend, lying to a dying woman, it felt wrong. Didn't it? I need to think about it, she said. You have until tomorrow morning. Adrian pulled a business card from his pocket and set it on the coffee table. My personal number is on the back. Call me before 8 a.m. with your answer. If it's yes, I'll pick you up Friday at 7 p.m. There's a company gala. We'll make our relationship public. He walked toward the door, and Emma followed, her mind spinning. This was insane. This was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not to exhausted single mothers living paycheck to paycheck. Adrian paused at the door, his hand on the handle. For what it's worth, he said without looking at her, your opinion today about the liability clauses was correct. I made the changes you suggested. Then he was gone, leaving Emma standing in her doorway, staring at the space where he'd been. Mommy? Mia appeared again, sliding across the floor in her socks. Was that really your boss? Yeah, baby. That was really him. Is he your boyfriend? Emma laughed, slightly hysterical. No, sweetie. We were just talking about work. Mia studied her with those two wise eyes. He seems sad. What makes you say that? His eyes. They look like yours sometimes. Like when you think I'm not watching and you're looking at the bills. Emma knelt down and pulled her daughter into a hug, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. 6 years old and already too perceptive for her own good. Come on, bedtime, for real this time. She tucked Mia in, read her the required 2 stories, kissed her forehead. Then she went back to the living room and picked up Adrian's card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. She flipped it over. His personal number, written in surprisingly neat handwriting, $100,000. 6 months of pretending. A dying grandmother who wanted to see her grandson happy. Emma thought about Mia saying Adrian had sad eyes. She thought about the way his voice had caught when he talked about his grandmother. She thought about him saying she was real in a world full of fakes. Maybe Adrian Cole wasn't the cold, heartless CEO everyone thought he was. Maybe he was just a man who'd learned to protect himself the only way he knew how. And maybe, just maybe, Emma understood that better than anyone. She looked at the card for a long time. Then she picked up her phone and started typing a message she wouldn't send until morning, when she'd had time to convince herself this wasn't completely crazy. But deep down, Emma already knew what her answer would be. Because when you're drowning, you don't question the hand that reaches down to pull you up. You just hold on and hope it's strong enough to save you. Emma didn't sleep. She spent the entire night pacing her small apartment, picking up Adrian's business card, setting it down, picking it up again. Every time she convinced herself this was insane and she should say no, she'd think about the eviction notice, about Mia's shoes with the sole coming loose, about the way her daughter sometimes asked why they couldn't do things other kids did, like go to movies or get ice cream, without Emma checking her bank account first. At 3 in the morning, she made a list of pros and cons. The pros column was short but powerful. $100,000. Financial security, Mia's future. The cons column was longer, messier. Lying to a dying woman, lying to everyone. Spending 6 months pretending to be in love with a man who didn't believe in love. Getting potentially attached to something that was never real. The risk that Mia might get confused about who Adrian was in their lives. At 5 a.m., she gave up on sleep entirely and made coffee. Terrible, cheap coffee that she'd learned to tolerate because the good stuff wasn't in the budget. She sat at her kitchen table and watched the sky lighten outside her window, thinking about the look in Adrian's eyes when he talked about his grandmother. That vulnerability, that fear. At 7:30, she picked up her phone and called the number on the back of his card. He answered on the first ring. "Ms. Mitchell." "Emma," she said. "If we're going to do this, you need to call me Emma." There was a pause. Then, "Does that mean your answer is yes?" Emma closed her eyes, took a breath, thought about Mia sleeping peacefully in the next room, unaware that her mother was about to change both their lives. "Yes, my answer is yes." "Good." Adrian's voice was steady, businesslike, back to the controlled CEO she knew from the office. "I'll have my lawyer drop a contract. Non-disclosure agreement. Terms of the arrangement. Payment schedule. You'll receive half up front, half at the end of 6 months." A contract. Emma laughed, slightly hysterical. "Of course there's a contract. I don't do anything without contracts, Emma. They protect both of us. Make sure we're clear on expectations and boundaries." What are the boundaries? She needed to know. Needed to understand exactly what she was agreeing to. Nothing physical beyond what's necessary to sell the relationship. Hand-holding. Maybe an arm around your waist at events. A kiss on the cheek if the situation demands it, but nothing more. This is a business arrangement. Emma felt something twist in her chest. Relief, probably. Definitely relief, not disappointment. "Okay, what else? You'll need to attend family events with me. Starting with Christmas and my grandmother's estate. That's in 3 weeks, so we need to establish our relationship publicly before then. The company gala, Friday night, will be our debut. I'll introduce you as my girlfriend. People will talk. Let them." "What do I tell Mia?" This pause was longer. "What do you want to tell her?" "I don't know." Emma rubbed her face with her free hand. "She's 6. She's not going to understand a fake relationship, and I don't want to lie to her more than necessary. Tell her I'm someone you're dating. That's not technically a lie. We will be going on dates, just not for the usual reasons. And when this ends, when we break up, she'll be upset. Kids are resilient." Adrian's voice was firm. "And $50,000 up front will give you the ability to get her therapy if she needs it. Put her in a better school, move to a safer neighborhood. The temporary confusion is worth the long-term security." He wasn't wrong. Emma hated that he wasn't wrong. "Fine. But if at any point I think this is hurting her, I'm out. Money or no money." "Agreed." Another pause. "I'll pick you up Friday at 7. Wear something formal. I'll send a stylist over Thursday afternoon to make sure you have appropriate clothing for the gala and other events." A stylist. Emma looked down at herself in her worn pajama pants and old college sweatshirt. Of course, she couldn't show up to a billionaire's gala in the one black dress she owned from Target. "Right. Okay. Emma." His voice changed slightly, became almost gentle. "This is gonna work, I promise." "How can you promise that?" "Because I don't fail at things I commit to. And I'm committed to making my grandmother happy." Emma wanted to ask what would make him happy, but she didn't. That wasn't part of their arrangement. "I'll see you Friday then." She hung up and sat in the silence of her kitchen, wondering what she'd just agreed to. Outside, the city was waking up, people heading to work, living their normal lives. Emma's life had just become decidedly abnormal. The stylist arrived Thursday afternoon, exactly as promised. Her name was Claire, and she swept into Emma's apartment like a fashionable tornado, carrying garment bags and shoeboxes and a makeup case that probably cost more than Emma's rent. Mia watched from the couch, eyes wide, as Claire transformed the living room into a temporary boutique. Mr. Ulm, Cole said, elegant but approachable, Claire said, pulling out dress after dress. He wants you to look like yourself, just elevated, nothing too flashy. You're not a trophy, you're a partner. Emma tried on 6 dresses before Claire declared the 7th one perfect. It was deep emerald green, fitted but not tight, with a neckline that was sophisticated without being revealing. The fabric felt like water against Emma's skin. She'd never worn anything so expensive in her life. It's too much, Emma said, staring at herself in the mirror Claire had propped against the wall. It's exactly right. Claire circled her, adjusting the hem. You look beautiful, real. That's what he wants. Mommy, you look like a princess, Mia breathed. Emma's eyes stung. When was the last time she'd dressed up? When was the last time she'd felt beautiful instead of just tired? Thank you, baby. Claire left her with 3 more dresses for other events, 2 pairs of shoes that actually fit perfectly, and detailed instructions on hair and makeup for the gala. After she was gone, Emma hung the dresses carefully in her closet, touching the fabric like she was afraid it might disappear. Is Mr. Adrian taking you on a date? Mia asked that night at dinner. Emma had been dreading this conversation. Yes, sweetie. We're going to a fancy party for his work. Is he your boyfriend now? We're spending time together, getting to know each other. Not technically a lie. They would be getting to know each other, even if the circumstances were completely artificial. Do you like him? Did she? Emma thought about Adrian, sitting on her couch, looking lost and tired and human, about the way his voice had changed when he talked about his grandmother, about him noticing that she thanked the janitor by name. I think I might. Is that okay with you? Mia nodded seriously. I think it's good. You're always sad when you think I'm not looking. Maybe Mr. Adrian will make you happy. Emma's heart cracked a little. She pulled Mia into her lap, holding her tight. You make me happy, baby girl. You're everything I need. But maybe you need grown-up things too, Mia said wisely. That's what Emma's mom on my show says, that mommies need grown-up time. When did you get so smart? I was born this way. Mia grinned, and Emma laughed despite everything. Friday evening came too quickly. Emma spent an hour getting ready, following Claire's instructions, her hands shaking as she applied mascara. The woman in the mirror looked like someone else, someone confident and put together, someone who belonged at a billionaire's gala. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. Emma took a deep breath, grabbed the small clutch Claire had left her, and opened the door. Adrian stood there in a black tuxedo, and Emma forgot how to breathe. She'd seen him in expensive suits at the office, but this was different. This was devastating. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his jaw clean-shaven, and when his eyes met hers, something flickered in them that might have been surprise. You look beautiful, he said quietly. Thank you. You look terrifying. Perfect. Like every romance novel cover come to life. Nice. His lips twitched in something that might have been amusement. Nice. I'll take it. He glanced past her. Is Mia here? She's at my neighbor's for the evening. Mrs. Chen watches her sometimes when I have to work late. You'll need to arrange more permanent childcare. We'll have multiple events over the next few weeks. He pulled out his phone. I'll have my assistant send you contact information for the agency I use. They're expensive but reliable. I can't afford. It's part of the arrangement, Emma. Any costs incurred because of this agreement, I cover. Childcare, clothing, transportation, all of it. He held out his arm. Shall we? Emma took his arm, and the warmth of him through the expensive fabric startled her. He was real. Solid. This was actually happening. The car waiting at the curb wasn't his car. It was a limousine, sleek and black and completely ridiculous. Emma stopped walking. Is that really necessary? We're making a statement tonight. Yes, it's necessary. Adrian guided her forward, and a driver in uniform opened the door. Emma slid into leather seats that were nicer than any furniture she owned. Adrian settled beside her, and suddenly the spacious car felt intimate. He poured 2 glasses of champagne from a bottle chilling in an ice bucket. You'll want this, for nerves. I don't drink much. Tonight you do. Trust me. He handed her the glass. The gala will have about 200 people. Business associates, investors, competitors. Everyone will be watching us, taking photos. Tomorrow, we'll be in the society pages. If you're still with this story, if you're wondering what happens when Emma steps into Adrian's world, hit that subscribe button, because the night ahead will test everything they think they know about fake relationships and real feelings. Emma took a sip of champagne. It was better than any alcohol she'd ever tasted. Of course it was. What do I say when people ask about us? The truth. We met at work. I asked you out. You said yes, keep it simple. And when they ask why the cold, heartless CEO suddenly has a girlfriend, Adrian's jaw tightened. Is that what people call me? Among other things. Emma probably shouldn't have said that, but the champagne was already going to her head on her empty stomach. What other things? Does it matter? To me, no. To you, apparently it does. He turned to look at her fully, and Emma was trapped by those dark eyes. What do you think of me, Emma? Before all this, she should lie, should say something safe and professional. Instead, she found herself saying, I thought you were lonely, that you built walls so high nobody could climb them, and then you wondered why you were alone at the top. The silence that followed was deafening. Adrian's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Pain, maybe. Recognition. You're more perceptive than I gave you credit for. Is that why you picked me? Because I see through the act? One picked you because my grandmother will see through the act if one brings someone fake. And you, Emma Mitchell, are the most genuine person I've met in 10 years. The car pulled up to a building that looked like a palace. Red carpet, photographers, beautiful people in beautiful clothes. Emma's anxiety spiked. I can't do this. Yes, you can. Adrian took her hand, and the gesture felt shockingly intimate even though she knew it was just for show. Look at me, just look at me. Everyone else's scenery. His hand was warm, steady. Emma held on to it like a lifeline as they stepped out of the car into a barrage of camera flashes. Adrian kept her close, his arms sliding around her waist, guiding her through the chaos. People shouted questions. Who was she? How long had they been dating? Was Adrian Cole finally off the market? Adrian ignored them all, leading Emma inside where the noise faded to a more manageable hum of conversation and classical music. The ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, walls covered in gold leaf, tables set with flowers that probably cost more than Emma's car. Stay close, Adrian murmured. I'll introduce you to people. Smile, be yourself. That's all you need to do. For the next 2 hours, Emma smiled until her face hurt. She met CFOs and hedge fund managers and people with titles she didn't understand. She sipped champagne and nodded at conversations about markets and acquisitions and strategies. And through it all, Adrian stayed beside her, his hand on her back or holding hers, a constant presence. People were surprised. She could see it in their faces. Adrian Cole with a date. Adrian Cole being attentive to someone. Adrian Cole almost smiling when Emma made a small joke about the ice sculpture shaped like the company logo. You're doing well, he said, during a brief moment when they were alone at their table. I feel like a fraud. You're not. You're exactly what I needed. He reached across and squeezed her hand, and Emma reminded herself it was just for show, just part of the performance. But when an older man approached their table and Adrian introduced him as his uncle, something changed. The uncle looked Emma up and down with barely concealed disdain. So you're the flavor of the month. Excuse me? Emma's voice came out sharper than intended. My nephew goes through assistants like tissues. I give it 2 weeks before he's bored. Adrian's entire body went rigid. That's enough. It's fine, Emma said, even though it wasn't. She looked the uncle straight in the eye. I'm not worried about Adrian getting bored. I'm more concerned about whether he can keep up with me. The uncle's eyebrows shot up. Adrian made a sound that might have been a laugh. If you'll excuse us, Adrian said coldly, standing and pulling Emma with him. We need air. He led her through the ballroom and out onto a balcony overlooking the city. The night was cold, and Emma shivered. Immediately, Adrian shrugged out of his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The gesture was so natural, so protective, that Emma forgot for a moment this was all pretend. I'm sorry about my uncle, Adrian said. He's always been an asshole. This time, Adrian definitely laughed. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. They stood in comfortable silence, looking out at the city lights. Emma pulled his jacket tighter. It smelled like expensive cologne and something underneath that was just him. Thank you, Adrian said quietly. for standing up to him. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. This might be fake, but I'm not going to let someone disrespect either of us. Adrian turned to look at her, and in the dim light from the ballroom, his expression was softer than she'd ever seen it. Maybe this won't be as difficult as I thought. What do you mean? Convincing people we're real. You're very good at this. At what? Pretending? At caring, even when you don't have to. Emma's breath caught. For a moment, they just looked at each other, and Emma felt something shift between them. Something dangerous, something that made her remember this was supposed to be business, nothing more. We should go back inside, she said. In a moment, Adrian hesitated, then said, My grandmother wants to meet you. Sunday dinner at the estate. I know we said we'd wait until Christmas, but she's been declining faster than expected. She wants to meet the woman who finally got me to settle down. Sunday, that's in 2 days. I know it's fast. But Emma. He looked vulnerable again, the way he had in her apartment. She's running out of time, and I need her to believe this is real. Emma thought about her own mother, gone 5 years now to a stroke that came without warning, about all the things she wished she'd said, the time she wished she'd had. Okay. Sunday. Relief washed over Adrian's face. Thank you. They went back inside, and Emma made it through the rest of the evening on autopilot. More introductions, more small talk, more pretending. When Adrian finally took her home, it was past midnight. He walked her to her door like a real date would. You were perfect tonight, he said. I was terrified. You hit it well. He smiled, and it transformed his face completely. Emma realized she'd never seen him really smile before. Get some rest. I'll send a car for you Sunday at 11. He turned to leave, but Emma caught his arm. Adrian. Your uncle, what he said, is that true? Do you really go through assistance that quickly? His smile faded. Yes, but not for the reasons he implied. I'm demanding. Most people can't handle the hours and the pressure. You've lasted 3 weeks, which is longer than most. Is that supposed to be reassuring? It's supposed to be honest. I don't lie, Emma, not to you. This arrangement works because we're both being truthful about what it is. He left, and Emma went inside to find Mia already asleep on Mrs. Chen's couch. She carried her daughter back to their apartment, tucked her into bed, then stood in her own room staring at the emerald dress hanging in her closet. What had she gotten herself into? This was supposed to be simple, a business arrangement. 6 months of pretending for money that would change their lives. But standing on that balcony with Adrian, feeling his jacket warm around her shoulders, seeing him smile like she'd given him something precious that hadn't felt like pretending, and that scared her more than anything.